The music and the performance and the fashion are one. I don't separate my art from my life. It is one whole thing.
Hi, Tom.
Hi, Patrick.
I'm Patrick.
And I'm Tom. And this is Chewing on Pearls, the show where we dissect and decipher Lady Gaga's chameleonic career and its impact, one pearl at a time. So we're back.
We're back! Spitting fact and spewing fiction in another installment of our current event series, That's Gossip. Today is Friday, October 17th. Let's get into the headlines.
Yeah, let's get into the headlines. Why don't we?
So this is like when we say current events, we mean since the last time we spoke at length.
Yeah. It's kind of been a month of like crazy stuff in the Gaga world.
Yeah. And this is not an exhaustive list. There's so much that's happening, which we'll break down, and we have our theories as to why there's kind of this push of the mayhem of it all.
Yeah, like a resurgence of what feels like promo.
Yeah.
For an album that came out in March, but we'll get into it. I guess we'll get into it right now, which is that on September 18th, Mayhem and Harlequin For Your Consideration box sets were sent to Grammy voters. Seeing like people opening this box set made me so angry. I was like, how do we get one?
I know. They're gorgeous.
Yeah, absolutely stunning. Images of Gaga from like the Abracadabra and like kind of like Spotify, Apple Music shoot that like we've not seen, which is interesting.
Right. And I think that's like the same day they shot interlude footage for the Mayhem Ball, because like those are the looks.
Yeah.
Like she's in the little white, she's in like the little black with the gloves. That's become like the Mayhem Ball promo image.
You're so right. Like they got together that day and they were like, we're making a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
The packaging was designed by Young Studio. And in addition to those unseen images, there are notes from Gaga in both boxes. So to be clear, I actually have not seen the Harlequin one.
The Harlequin one is really cute.
Yeah.
The note it's like in the box on this like burnt parchment paper, and it looks like it's like handwritten.
Right. I read the text from the note, but like, which is gorgeous. But I'm just like, I didn't really see like what the design, like more images or anything.
There's like a fake newspaper with like all the press clippings and quotes about the album. And then it's like, it looks like a trunk, like you would take if you're being admitted to an asylum. Like,
you know, it's funny. I was just thinking about how for all of her jazz projects, it does feel like this. Well, like Cheek to Cheek was newsprint. Love for Sale had this like collage effect. And then with Harlequin, it's kind of this like messy bedroom, but like similar. Like there's a through line to the like symbolism of all of that to me. And I wonder what it says about her relationship to jazz. It's interesting.
It's like of another time.
Yeah. And like pastiche in a way. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or like her approach to it at least. Well, I would love to invite you to read the quote from Gaga's For Your Consideration Mayhem box for Grammy voters.
You know what? I would love to read you.
Oh my God, I was so glad.
Quote. Mayhem is a record born from the desire to reclaim myself through sound, a desire to experiment wildly, but also to write the kind of songs I love, songs that are timeless, music that is imperfect, raw, beautiful, ugly, challenging, free because it is real. Through this process, I learned the art of the broken fragment and how to rise and create again, what it means as an artist and as a human being to rebuild from the rubble. I wrote and recorded more than 50 songs, then distilled them into a fragmented album that reflects my journey from darkness to light. It is loud and at times unsettling, but also triumphant and painfully vulnerable. And above all, I know it was fiercely honest.
Intriguing. I have so much to say about this, and I know this is a That's Gossip episode. And like we said at the top, like we're going to unpack some of this like for your consideration type of language in the future.
I think we are onto something as per usual.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, so did she listen to us recap Mayhem, like our initial listen, the Happy Mistake episode? And then she was like, let me sit down and write this letter real quick.
Exactly.
Because some of this language is a little familiar, Stephanie.
Yeah, it's just interesting because granted, she's sitting down and writing this, so there's like time and energy and effort and editing in a different way. But like thinking about the way she talked about the album in the early like March press junket kind of vibe, it was so like muddied to me. And like I don't think she could really get this out in the way that she wanted it to. And so I love that it seems like here she's able to like be as direct as possible with it.
Right. Well, and this is something that she gets into in some interviews that we'll talk about shortly. But the album has also been out for a little bit and has had a life of its own. And she talks about her image being reflected back at her. And I feel like with some time and the public's reaction to Mayhem, she's been able to like solidify the narrative in a way that is like affirmed by the success of the album, it's about this reclamation.
The fan response to the album and performance of the album complete the concept.
Right.
And so I think that's kind of like a fascinating spectacle. And I think, again, we've talked about Gaga as mirror. She's alluding to it here. The album cover gets at that, etc. But something that I think is fascinating is this kind of emphasis on rebuilding from the rubble, because I don't really see her as ever having like a true rubble period. I think if you wanted to argue that she did, at least in the public eye, you could say art pop, but otherwise it's like the last decade of her career has been like good move after good move after good move after like people just loving her more and more. So it is like a fascinating.
But it's almost like at what cost?
Yeah,
you know, I mean, like personally, at what cost? And I think that that's something too now where I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but we'll talk about, especially in the Colbert interview, this idea that Lady Gaga is a persona now. And it makes me think about, okay, when did Gaga become alienating and like fame culture become overwhelming? And it's like, when she became an A-lister.
Yeah.
And that's
absolutely.
like the last decade. So really even during times of like extreme success and like career highs and peaks in like an industry that is widening for her and opportunities that are in other genres and mediums, you know, personally, she could be in that rebel state.
Totally. I think you're hitting the nail on the head. Like I might not go as far as a decade back. I would say even like the A Star Is Born moment.
Right.
Like between
which
the Super
honestly
Bowl and
is
A Star Is
almost a decade, which is crazy.
Yeah, that is insane. And it's interesting to hear her talk about write about how fiercely honest this album is. Knowing some of the songs on this album, I just love that. You know what I mean? Like it's just so it's even her most earnest statements as an artist have this like kind of veneer of persona still. Like she's totally. Like, I am speaking as a human being and as an artist to people who are considering my work. But even in that, she still has like a little bit of this like there's a wink and a nod and like a tip tat in all of it. And I love that about
totally
her.
And think of the visual through line of Miss Mayhem. A tipped motherfucking hat.
Bitch. Yeah. It's so interesting. And I think we've said this before. We're going to look back at this time period and read some of the stuff and listen to some of these interviews again in the future, and I think have even more understanding and insight.
And we'll be sitting on the couch next to Stephanie herself,
Yeah.
giggling and laughing.
Yeah. She'll be like, hee hee. Remember when I said that album was fiercely honest? Guess what? It wasn't. This one is. You know what I mean? Like, that's like what I love about her, though.
Yeah,
It's like
I
the
know.
constant evolution and embracing the fact that there is no stillness in any of it.
Right.
It's unfortunately so radical in our culture because we're told that like when we turn 18, you're just like done growing or something.
Right.
Anyway, I digress, but
So to bring it back to the Grammys, Gaga's submissions are Mayhem for Album of the Year, Best Pop Vocal Album, Best Engineered Album, Non-Classical, Abracadabra for Record of the Year, Song of the Year, Best Dance Pop Recording, Best Music Video, Abracadabra, the Geseffelstein remix for Best Remixed Recording, Disease for Best Pop Solo Performance, Perfect Celebrity for Best Rock Performance, Best Rock Song, Harlequin for Best Traditional Pop Vocal Album, Best Engineered Album, Non-Classical, and That's Entertainment, Best Arrangement, Instrumental, and Vocals.
I'm like, she's gonna sweep.
I'm just like, swing big. I love it.
Yeah,
I love them
me
being
too.
like, Perfect Celebrity, Best Rock Song. It's like, actually.
Yeah, actually, it is the best rock song.
Name
of
me
all
a better
time.
rock song. Yeah, come on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like fun to kind of like be in, you know, how it is like, don't give a shit about the Grammys unless Gaga is involved.
Right.
So it's kind of like fun to be like back in, like plugged in this way where it's like, ooh, awards season. As like gross and silly as that all is in the culture, it's also like fun to indulge in. And so I'm
Right.
very excited for that. And
I think the initial like voting has closed.
yes.
And I think like nominees will be announced like beginning of November, I think.
Yeah. So we will
shall
know
see.
more and have more to say about all of that. Yeah, it's just so fun and like to like be excited for something like that. It reminds me of being a kid. And I'm so glad that Harlequin's out there doing her
Totally.
damn thing.
If you didn't know, it's Harlequatum. So
Right.
yeah.
Stay tuned. We're revisiting that soon.
Yes. And we're streaming Harlequin.
Yeah. Right now. I have like
Yeah.
one headphone is streaming Harlequin. One headphone is hearing you. So on October 3rd, Lady Gaga returned to the Bitter End, the bar on the Lower East Side in New York, for an interview on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. We know that she filmed this interview the day after she did her live performance, acoustic Vanish Into You. So this was a little bit delayed from when she recorded it. So she was about to perform on the VMAs. And she had just performed on the VMAs, I believe, when she did this. And she had recently canceled a Miami show for vocal rest.
And she's very quiet in the
yes, she's a little hoarse, she's a little quiet, speaking very low. And this is an interesting watch, I think, for if you're a little monster, if you've been as plugged in as we are, or if you haven't. I feel like it's one of the most, I don't know, enlightening and strange, dare I say, interviews that I've seen. And it's funny because I think a lot of fans are like, oh my God, this is like the most real and raw we've seen her in so long. And I understand that, but I also think there's an angling that is happening in this interview that is related to the Grammys.
So calculated, and it's almost this like reclamation and like revisiting of the Lady Gaga narrative and story.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a reintroduction for people who maybe never were paying attention that much to begin with and know her as a periphery, like one of the most famous people in the world, but like doesn't really know her story.
Yeah.
This feels like a very controlled, safe environment for her to kind of pitch herself.
Yeah. They're literally sitting at the bitter end, and she talks about being a teenager performing there on like Tuesday nights, and Colbert kind of like prompts her to explore what the beginning of her career was like from that stage until she was signed and then dropped and then signed again. So that was kind of like you said, a revisiting of this narrative where I almost felt like she wanted to illustrate how hard she worked, but she also was pointing out how the music industry kind of screwed her in a way. Like I don't necessarily think that as a younger artist she was like in a position to talk about the music industry as a woman. Like she
No.
hadn't been through enough of it yet, and it was very challenging for her, but like it was all happening so fast. So like all of that feels like accurate to me, to like the narrative of Lady Gaga, the like teenage New York girl, the getting signed, getting dropped, getting signed again, and it all happened so fast. Like we know that, but for her to sort of talk about the creation of Lady Gaga as like an intentional, almost protective mechanism
Right.
seemed inaccurate to me.
Right.
I don't know, sue me.
Well, it was just different from what we've been like fed by this person for so many years, where it's like there is no, I mean, it's the intro of our show.
Yeah.
There is no like my art, my life. It is one whole thing, which in this, you know, we're not going to break down every part. Go watch if you haven't already. But it is interesting that she talks about Gaga as like a separate entity, but like Stephanie and Gaga have a shared history.
Yeah. And it's all very, like you said, constructed, because the first thing that Stephen asks her is, should I call you Stephanie or Gaga? And she says
it's like,
Stephanie.
that's a question from like 2009.
Right,
Like,
right.
yeah.
And she continues to talk about Lady Gaga in the third person throughout the interview. Talk about she and her as like a separate entity. And I don't want anyone listening to misconstrue our words and think that we don't want Gaga to be able to have a separate personal world that we do not know about. Like she deserves that. She deserves humanity and intimacy and love and family and all and friends and all of that stuff. But it's like the framing and the language felt a little bit like distancing in a way that I felt like she almost wasn't stepping into her power and owning like, yeah, Lady Gaga is an entity that I created, but also I was the person wearing the suit. You know, like Lady Gaga is a superhero and I'm the person inside the superhero's costume. And like I'm the one who was still saying these things and doing these things. It almost was like presented as like almost like she was like possessed by this creative thing that she made, like Frankenstein or something.
Yeah, it was different. And not that it can't be true.
Right.
And also there's been time and perspective for her. And like she really was so young, saying these really declarative things about herself, her music, her artistry, her project.
Yeah.
And using this language that felt so intense. And she talks about it in the other interviews that we're going to touch on in this episode, that like intensity has been the through line. Yeah. And so now it's like her relationship to that. It's like this is someone who used to fake being her own management to like get her name in the room. So it's like she now is like so far removed from that.
Yeah.
Like she can see that person as like, oh, this was this other thing.
She hasn't been presented with an opportunity to talk about her origin story in a very long time. So like of course there's something about this that feels constructed, that feels PR, but it's also a very real opportunity. And I'm like, I don't think either of us is doubting that it's what's true and what's like, I believe what she says. I think it's the language that kind of threw me for a loop a little bit.
Right.
But
yeah, there's this level of distance that almost, and then it's like, then we talk about Michael and, you know, how essential he was to the project. And it just feels like very different for her to talk about her work so intensely tied to this other person that you know, we love him and what he's like brought her. And I think it's like we're all still learning how deep the collaboration is and like how involved he is in what Gaga is producing now.
And still always
then,
questioning her narration too. Like,
right.
and I'm not saying she's like some crazy person, but I feel like she's such an artist, she's such a performer. As much as she's like Lady Gaga is the separate entity, again, to me, there's like a tipping of a hat and like a wink and a nod in that even. And maybe I'm reading way too into it. Maybe I am, but like it's just all very interesting.
Well, so I think that this is something that, you know, like the Colbert of it all, it makes sense the way that she's like presenting herself in her story. But we're going to talk about some other interviews. Like also on October 3rd, Lady Gaga was on KCRW Live, and she performed acoustic versions of Abracadabra and Vanish Into You on a baby grand piano, and then was in conversation with Chris Doridis. And the interview is really, really good. And it's this different kind of Gaga where it's like Gaga the musician, and it's about like Bruce Springsteen and like her love for discipline and like how suffering is inherent because to be disciplined you have to give something else up. And like it's this whole different construction of like Gaga the meticulous musician who is like so dedicated to her craft, and it's like that is the core of who Lady Gaga is.
Yeah, especially because in the Colbert interview she did say, like, he asked her, do artists have to suffer? And she's like, no. Oh my God, no. You know what I mean? And so when there are these interviews that kind of feel in some ways at odds, not at odds, but just such different, again, angles, it just calls all of it sort of into question. But I would agree with you that the one consistent thing that I feel like this moment in her career has been about is like Gaga as a producer, songwriter, musician, somebody who works really hard, puts her mind to it and gets it done. And they are really like doubling down on that. And I really love that about this whole thing.
Well, and so not to go back to Colbert, but there's a quote that I pulled that I feel like is speaking to kind of what we were talking about and like the change in language and perspective. And it's a quote, Gaga talking about this stage of her career as a woman in music. And she says, at this stage of my life, I don't feel like a product anymore. I feel like Mayhem was me circling back to all of the music that I fell in love with, my production style, my songwriting, my love of dark poetry, and celebrating that it's mine and that I'm making it for me. I can feel empowered as a woman in music with a beautiful partner that has my back every day. Being empowered as a woman in music is something that took me nearly 20 years for me to experience. I feel so grateful to still be here.
I love that she says she doesn't feel like a product anymore. I think toward the end of the Colbert interview, like I was just super critical, but like hearing her say some of those things about the support and love of partnership and feeling empowered as a woman in music, and then also not feeling like a product, like that's the most important part for me. But at the same time, it does kind of like touch on that whole circling back that the Grammy for Your Consideration boxes message did, that this interview on KCRW does, which is like, I'm an artist who has a vision and it's expansive, and I work really hard to like narrow it. And that's what you're hearing.
Right. And also that same week, I think it was October 1st, her Song Exploder episode came out.
Yeah.
Which is also really great and a shorter listen. And it's so refreshing to hear Gaga talk about her process in such a like meticulous and detailed way.
Yeah.
And it's so fun to hear like the stems of the song isolated, because you really realize how bonkers Abracadabra is.
Yes, I agree.
And it's like, of course we know this, but like when you really take out the individual elements, when she says that it's like the quintessential Gaga song because it is it has like these melodic intervals. It has this razor sharp sound that's unsettling. That's like almost too much. It's about release of tension. It's about adrenaline. It's about drama. It's about gaudiness. Like it's all of these things that she's like, and it's rock music instrumentation with electronic dance music.
Yeah,
and she's
exactly.
like, that is Lady Gaga. If I have to put down what Lady Gaga is, it is this.
Yeah, I found the Song Exploder interview to be so inspiring in so many ways. Like, I do not make music. I don't know anything about making music. And I think consuming Abracadabra, like listening to Abracadabra, is it bonkers? Yes, but it's so perfectly done that it also just, it's hard to conceive of it that way because it's so enjoyable. It's truly enjoyable entertainment as well. So then to like hear her pick that apart and to even talk about her vocal performance,
right,
being kind of like spontaneous when she gets to the bridge and starts kind of doing her operatic thing, like
right, like she was just moved
she
to
was
do
like,
that.
I just did that. And like talking about how the song had 3 different productions, like they kind of went through 3 different versions of it. It's just fascinating and like really, like it is a house track. It is kind of like a rock song. It is kind of like a techno song. I don't know. It's just so much at once.
And the fact that she was like, I couldn't hear the chorus unless we went through and did all of the harmony stacking. Like I couldn't, like I wouldn't know if this was right until we like fully did it.
Right.
And there could have been a chance where she was like, nope. Like,
yeah.
But she's like, we have to put all of that in for me to decide.
Yeah. And I love her kind of talking about the spell, quote unquote spell.
Right.
From the chorus of Abracadabra and talking about coming up with those words and syllables with as much sincerity and passion as she talks about.
Yeah. Like, she's like, it was all day.
Yes. Like it's so, like, I think, again, like just a reminder that at her core, like the root of her artistry is musicianship. I can't even say that word, musicianship. You know what I mean? Like that's where it all began. This is the girl that's like on the piano at 4 years old. I listened to this and I know that like the timing of it coming out is like perfect for the Grammys. The song was released at the last Grammys. Right. And I'm just like, I don't care if this has some kind of PR angle because this song deserves all of those awards. Like this episode of Song Explorer made me like, I was just like, this is the greatest song of the 2020s.
Okay. Long-term listeners will know a couple episodes ago.
I cut that out. I cut it out.
Okay. You cut it out to save your ass.
Yeah.
You cut it out to save your ass.
Yes. This is what happens when I edit the episodes.
Yeah.
Basically, I'll own up to it. Basically, a few episodes ago, I did say, I was like, we were talking about little managers and being like, you can't have Abracadabra and the Dead Dance and like be mad. You know what I mean? Like if you don't like the Dead Dance, essentially. And I was just like, Abracadabra's not even in my top 5 on that album. And Patrick was just like dead silent. And then I think you said like choices or something like that.
Or something. Yeah.
And I was just like, I feel really bad about this after we stopped recording. So I'm definitely eating my words, but this song is incredible. I think it's so quintessentially Gaga that it doesn't even register to me as such a fan.
It's like, it's almost like we
heard
this song before it was even written.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like when you
like
describe,
a poem said by a lady
in red. Yeah. No, but it's like when you described hearing Bad Romance live, it's like it was coming out of your pores. Like it's like, that's not even music. That's just like
this
gospel.
Is in that lineage for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Wow. Well, all of these pieces of Gaga media are worth consuming if you haven't. And again, I think they tell different stories about how she feels about Mayhem. And I think as we get closer to the Grammys, we're going to talk more at length, like we said, about what we think this all means in the story and like why. But
you know what we can tell you about the Grammys is on October 7th, Rolling Stone predicted Mayhem will win Album of the Year at the 2026 Grammys.
Yeah.
which is major.
And my cynical ass is like so happy when I saw that. And then like, they're doing this because she's not going to get it.
Yeah, they're jinxing her. But it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, Kendrick and Bad Bunny are going to give her a run for her money. But I also feel like as an overall like package, this is probably like the clearest Gaga album win for album of the year.
Yeah, like you said, Bad Bunny and Kendrick like are stacking some odds against her. But like back in the day, I think the last time she was nominated for album of the year was Born This Way. Back in the day, it was like, it was insane. Like the pop game and like the music game at that time was so insane. And she was still so like misunderstood. And like coming off of Beyonce's iconic and incredible and much deserved win for Cowboy Carter, which many felt was like almost like giving her album of the year for everything she's ever made.
Ever done. That's what this would feel like.
That's what this would
feel like.
And the album almost feels like because she keeps talking about how this album is filled with every genre I've ever loved and I've ever made and I've ever tried to make. Like it feels like that, you know?
Yeah.
The story's writing itself. It's been written.
Yeah.
Best of luck to Mother at the 2026 Grammys.
Yes. Stay tuned for our coverage.
Absolutely. So Gaga's in Europe right now. Good for her. And on October 9th, she was spotted filming scenes for The Devil Wears Prada in Milan. And there were rumors going around about her making an appearance in this movie for a while. Like people were saying, oh, she's going to be in Milan for her like Italy shows. And like, this is what's happening. Devil Wears Prada is filming at that time. It's said that she's going to play herself and appear as a guest in the front row of a fashion show where she sits next to Miranda Priestley, played by Meryl Streep. This movie isn't going to be released until next spring, but the photos that came from the set kind of gagged everyone because it was another moment that was like, it's 2009 again. Gaga in a slicked kind of platinum bun and giant sunglasses and corseted and cinched in a chunky boot.
She was feeling herself.
Yes. Yeah, it's just kind of like fun and exciting for gays, girls, and theys who love
and then
that film.
She pulled a really cunty airport look from Milan to Stockholm and rolled up in, she said category is ballerina goth.
Yeah. And it's like,
which is the perfect summation of Tom and I.
Yes. Oh God. She's like speaking to us directly for real.
She said, this is for glitter and grease.
Yes. Yes.
If you know, you know.
Yeah. And what I love so much about it is like all of these publications talking about how, like the New York Times Magazine article that came out today, Gothic pop is back and Gaga is the professor of Gothic Pop Academy, and like and all of these conversations over the last like year and a half about recession pop and about how Gaga is a recession indicator and like what does that mean? Like what does she represent in the culture? This kind of like doomsday glamour, and like how this look kind of is both of those things as well. Her being like category is ballet goth just made me think about her first Imperial phase when Tumblr was like C-punk and health goth and like all of these like sub like punk and goth
right
kind of aesthetics were like being propagated. It just like really sent me back to that where I was like, yeah, of course, ballet goth, like as if it's been a thing since 2010 and Tumblr was like blowing up and like showing
and it's like it is kind of a thing she's doing right now, like the new Dead Dance look in the Mayhem Ball is like a Degas, like goth ballerina.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. And we were texting about how when Gaga takes a plane outside of the continental US, she just can't help but serve cunt.
Yeah, no, there is just something about her like airport looks in countries she does not live in that are just,
just like
so good
to die for. So wonderful, and like nice to see her in pink and in some color.
Yes, material fecales.
Yes, it just like felt really fun and cute and
straight off the runway.
Absolutely. More Mayhem Press on October 13th. Andrew Watt talked to People magazine about the Mayhem recording process and praised Gaga as an artist, person, and collaborator. He said she's always pushing herself. Her work ethic is, quote, out of this world. And it became apparent that they were making a, quote, dance album as they were working. And that the music was calling them to that. He said it was the most exciting album he's ever been a part of, and that they together worked at it for longer than any album he's ever worked on, consistently, a year straight without stopping.
And in the KCRW interview, Gaga talks about that, like it was like a 7-month process of them like writing and recording Mayhem before she let the label hear anything.
Love that. Yeah. I'm like, girl, that's what you're allowed to do. You're Lady fucking Gaga. You know, like work on it. Like let the process speak for itself. And I just love the idea of her like locking these dudes in a room and being like, we're making Mayhem, bitch. We're making my album of the year. So sit down.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny in that other interview, she tells like an anecdotal story about her, like Andrew got to the studio like before their session was supposed to start, and he was like messing around with something while she was in the other room like warming up her voice, and she like barged in and she was like, stop playing what you're playing, but save it for later because I want to write over it, but my voice isn't warmed up yet, but don't forget, but also don't play anymore. Yeah. And then like walked out of the room, finished her vocal warm up, and then came back in and wrote Vanish Into You.
Fierce. Like, I just love that, like the sheer force of collaboration, that you hear a snippet of something and then you're like, that is bringing a beautiful, romantic, kind of tragic song, quintessential Gaga song like Vanish Into You out of you. Like,
yeah,
it just
and he
strikes.
was like, yeah. And what's crazy is he was messing around with a synthesizer. And it's totally. Like Vanish Into You has become this like beautiful piano ballad that she's like playing. She did it on the radio, another acoustic version. There's also rumors out there swirling that Vanish Into You is going to be like pitched kind of like what we said, as like this like fan driven, they're capturing the barricade walk from all the Mayhem shows, and it's going to be like her album of the year single release.
Right.
And, like, have a video that's all about the tour and like,
and then she vanishes.
Yeah. And then she has a baby and we never see her again. Yeah.
Well, I guess, we're kind of all over the place, but that's a big part of the Colbert interview is he's like, do you want to do Broadway? And she's like, my next role is as a mother. Like she was the most clear she's ever been. It wasn't like, there's a lot I want to do and like, who knows what'll be next, but I know that like we're working, like I want to have a family. Like she was like, my next role is as a mother. So
pretty much confirmed that baby Gaga is coming.
And I love that for her and I want that for her. She's wanted that for a long time and she seems happy and in like a good place, and that's the time to have a baby.
And I'm paraphrasing, but Andrew Watt does say in the People Mag interview that like you can clearly tell by the way that she just like presents herself, the way that she speaks about her work, the way that she's performing live, that this is like the happiest and healthiest she's ever been.
Yeah. We could feel it in that United Center arena, mama.
Yep.
Like it's just so, it's when there's a synergy between like the vision, the work, and the person. Like it's just so clear and so powerful, and I love hearing from her collaborators because as much as she is one of the most famous women in the world, there is still a little bit of intrigue there. Like it's she's not an artist where we get clips of her in the studio very often, like messing around, like we see Ariana Grande, clips of Ariana Grande doing things like that.
Right.
Or I'm trying to think of another example, but I can't.
Beyonce has really shown a lot of studio footage over the past couple years.
Yeah. There's something, kind of mysterious about Gaga's relationship to making the work now that she's more and more independent as a woman in music.
Right.
You know?
Another notable thing in the Andrew Watt interview is he talks about like working on Die With a Smile with Bruno and Gaga, and he compares their working relationship to the working relationship between Michael Jackson and Quincy Jones, which is crazy. And it's like Gaga was in the booth singing and Bruno was like producing and like was on the mic into the studio, like giving her note and direction, and like she was giving it right back. Like they were working in tandem in this way where like Andrew just kind of like stepped back and like
Totally.
let them just like, I'm watching something that is like, whoa, this is crazy.
And like, look at what that song has done.
Exactly.
They've both been in the game for so long, and low key, their influences aren't that different. Their music is very different, and their fan base and their like approach to artistry, I think, is very different. But they have a lot of similar influences,
similar icons.
Yeah. So some other notable people who have shouted Gaga out in recent press: Rachel Ziegler, Andrew Lloyd Webber, Circuit, Mark Ronson, Jeff Koons, Demi Lovato, Doja Cat, and Jade. Notable, one of the newest daughters of Gaga, if you will.
Yeah. In a cute video, they like asked her about her pop Bibles, and she's like, Chromatica. Yeah. It's like, oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so you're a real one. Like,
yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. That's why I love Bad Bunny. I'm like, Chromatica stan.
Chromatica stan. 10 toes down.
Yeah. 10 toes in those Rain on Me yellow rain boots.
Yellow boots. Yeah. Courtside.
Yes.
I love the photo of him going through TSA in Gaga merch. And he's just like miserable at the airport, but like decked out in like full Lady Gaga merch.
Iconic. I really enjoyed seeing the clip of Jeff Koons talking about his work with Gaga literally over a decade ago. And I feel like he spoke about her with such an understanding and intelligence. And though he is a controversial figure for sure, I think it's interesting to see people who have kind of like somebody like him, somebody like Marina Abramovich or whatever, like these people who are big and famous and celebrities and kind of like capitalists in this different world that is like tangential to Gaga, just kind of like doubles down on the fact that she is more than just a pop star.
Yeah, like artist first, everything else second.
Right, like she is the one. Like when I'm hearing him talk in this like clip, I'm like, oh, so right, in 20 years she will be like talking at some kind of panel about what it means to be a real artist or like a famous artist. Yeah,
and like she'll be talking about Doechii and Chapel. Like
right, exactly. Yeah, like it's weird how, you know, you just mentioned Michael and Quincy Jones. You can like map Gaga onto these famous pop stars. You can map Gaga onto these like celebrities and like A-list actors. And you can also map her onto this kind of like ethically questionable high art world. Like she kind of like belongs to like the fame. She is the fame in every kind of sense, perhaps except professional athlete.
What's interesting, I think it's in Song Exploder, she talks about like, because she's talking about darkness. They're like pushing her on. She explains what abracadabra is to her. And it's like the night that could like be the best night of your life or the last night of your life.
Totally.
And it's
dance or die.
Like, right. And they're like, is that how you feel? And like, if so, are you the lady in red or are you the person at the party? And she's like, well, for most of my career, I've felt like the person at the party, which is interesting because people would think that she is the force that's making those things happen. And she talks about, she's like, I think the phrase she uses is fame culture was difficult for me. Not being famous.
Yeah.
Fame culture.
Yes.
Was difficult for me.
6 words that we could spend hours talking about because being famous was her destiny.
Right.
That's not what's like being a world famous artist with like songs heard around the world. That's what she wanted. I think I think she enjoys that. But like you said, it's the culture, or like she said, it's the culture. Yeah. And so it's fascinating to, again, like map her onto these like ways that people kind of assign the fame to her.
Well, and she talks about that too, and how like the sound and the reclamation of the sound was important for her because she gets her image reflected back at her constantly, and like what she is or what she means. So it was like her one chance to be like, okay, if this is the last time I'm ever on the radio, like I have to remind these people of what they're missing.
Yeah. Oh my God. And
because she talks about it. She's like, this is not like, I did not like think about streaming or radio or anything when we made this song.
Right.
And it's like, it was huge, massive.
And like the biggest thing on TikTok this year, like insane. But like, she's getting into like boomers' cars. She's getting into like millennials' headphones, and she's like on like
she's in classrooms.
She's on TikTok. Like it's just so fascinating.
And kids are learning this in like marching band.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
And
it's interesting too, circling back to Colbert again. Listeners might be able to tell that interview had so many little moments that are worth talking about, but you talk about like her seeing her reflection back. She says something in the Colbert interview about like, it's not my job to know what the fan needs from me, but I know I have to give it to them. And so it's such a weird kind of way of speaking about this, and like such a grown and mature way that makes me understand how she's protected herself in many ways, because we've seen this woman like weeping on stage with like 11-year-olds and like doing and being like, I need to be a queen for them. I need to be the diva, the icon, like for them. And now it's sort of like, I can do me and they will take from it what they need. And that's enough. And I think we kind of saw her learning that at the Chromatica Ball a little bit too. Speaking of intensity, brutality, personal chaos, if you will, I don't know. Fragmentation. More to come there. More to come on all of that. But anyway, there have been some updates, of course, to the Mayhem Ball. It's evolving in Europe. Gaga has been breaking out randomly into the dead dance choreo at odd moments in the show, which is kind of a genius way to go make that song do more numbers, because now that is all over my TikTok feed, being like, with people being like, Gaga's being so crazy. Look at her trying to promote her song. Like, LOL, isn't this insane? She's being so weird. And it's like making the song do better. And
it's like objectively funny. Like when it happens,
it's so
like
funny.
getting Rickrolled. It's like, oh fuck. Like I got dead danced.
Like it's so like, I don't know.
Like she's making herself the joke is what it feels like, because people were criticizing her, and like there was that meme that was like when an artist is like promoting a song on TikTok or whatever, and it's like a compilation of Gaga doing the dead dance over and over and over again. Right. So it's almost like her being like, okay, well, if I'm the dead dance girl, let's do it again.
Like, this is my song. So hello, like
do the dead dance.
It's just such a funny, strange thing. And the first time she did it, people were freaked out, and now people just think it's funny and cool and cute.
And on the dead dance note, at the September 29th show in London, Emma Myers and Evie Templeton came out as special guests during the dead dance. And that's when she debuted the new outfit. And those are the little Wednesday divas who we referred to as Girl 1 and Girl 2 in an earlier episode.
We're not Wednesday on Netflix watchers by any means, but it was cute. It was cute for her to bring those girls up there and give the UK or like Europe the introduction to the European leg, like a little special moment like that, I think. For sure.
And Gaga's cycling through surprise songs for the little piano section and also the bow songs. Right now, interestingly enough, there's like a tally of the songs that she's done the most. So Hair, she's done 8 times, Edge of Glory 7, Dance in the Dark 5, Speechless 4, Marry the Night 3, You and I 3, Rain on Me 1, Joanne 1, Grigio Girls 1. She notably stepped off the plane in Europe wearing pink, and Joanne became the album.
Yes. That's literally what we were texting about the second we saw that image. And like,
we were like, confirmed.
Because like it could have been, what else could it have been? Chromatica. The Fame. Cheek to Cheek, dare I say.
Yes. Oh my God. I can't wait. I can't wait for Anything Goes to be the bow song.
I'm like, she's going to perform Happy Mistake at the piano on this tour. Absolutely. I have no questions about it. And I am jealous of the people that get to see it, especially in this kind of like Grammy
I feel like Yeah, I don't know. We have to look at like where she'll be, but part of me is like I feel like she'll be in Tokyo.
But I feel like they love Harlequin. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
Like
That's why
they
I'm like
get it. Yeah.
she would do it there.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Like they get her in a way
yeah. In a way that like most people don't.
yeah, it's like radical acceptance of
Yeah.
all parts of her.
Shout out to Tokyo.
Anyway, I guess that was kind of like a really like insane run through a bunch of Gaga stuff that's been happening. There's a lot in the future, in the near future that we'll be talking about because of this like ramping up of and hyping of Mayhem as album of the year with or without the Grammy. Like
Right.
culturally, in terms of press and publications, it feels like major outlets have decided and they are running the promo as if that's what's happening. And so it kind of doesn't even matter if she gets the award or not because they're like reintroducing the album to people. And again, it came out, what is it, 7 months ago.
And the materials are good. Like the campaign is good. I mean, I know
Yeah.
we're biased, but like if I was just like a naysayer and I would like saw what was being presented, it's a very compelling argument.
Yes. And let's be real, like I'm no music industry person, but I feel like one of the major criticisms of Gaga's career has been that Interscope hasn't like fought for her enough or like
Right.
especially post Born This Way. Seeing this happening, I don't know. I feel like the stars have just aligned in this weird way. Like we started this podcast a year ago. Mayhem comes out. It's this like amalgamation of sounds from her whole career. She's really clear and focused and like happy and in love. The tour is incredible. And like, again, like a retreading of like everything that she's done well, a reimagination of her common themes and stuff. The music's amazing. Everyone loves it. Everyone loves her right now. I'm just like, what happened? It just feels like it's
And the
happened
craziest
so
thing,
quickly.
the craziest thing, she was in a huge box office bomb too,
yeah.
which we don't even talk about. We don't even fucking talk about.
Bobby Campbell, They Could Never Make Me Hate You. I'm sorry.
Right.
Like they maneuvered that beautifully.
Yep.
And they'll probably, no, they won't catch any strays at the Oscars because they did last year.
No.
Yeah, that was over a year ago. And they
Right.
caught one little stray and it was like, hee. You know?
Right.
That's
Oh,
so...
that's the tea we forgot to talk about that I forgot to throw in this little outline is the official sheet music for Mayhem was published. And in the book, it says, Die with a Smile from the major motion picture Joker 2, Folie à Deux.
Fascinating.
Which makes me believe Die with a Smile was written and intended to be like the song from the movie,
Like the credits
win an
song.
Oscar.
Yeah.
Yep, win an Oscar, be this crazy song that blew up or whatever, and then
Be
when
on
the movie,
Harlequin, perhaps?
Yep, when she saw the fucking edit of the movie, she was like, "Get it out of here.
Yeah.
We got to pull it.
I'm getting
We
in the
gotta pull it."
studio and recording these songs as Lady Gaga and like
Right.
just so fascinating. And it like again brings up the
We're
question
moving.
of like
We're moving Happy Mistake from Mayhem. We're
Yeah.
bumping that. We're putting Die with a Smile. Yeah, it makes so much sense.
yeah.
Brilliantly played.
And like letting Happy Mistake be kind of like a fan song
Right.
because of
and
its
like
placement on Harlequin.
and like a harbinger of what's to come.
Yes. Because that go back to our, you know what, go back to the episode.
Go
I'm
back,
not going to get into
yeah.
it. Go back to that and we'll get into it again, of course, because that's what we do. But anyway, if you got to the end of this, thanks for listening to us ramble about Stephanie. If that's what she wants to be called.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can we call her that? I don't know.
Okay, well, you'll hear from us soon. We need an outro. I'm gonna be open.
I know. We need
like every
we need an
episode we're
outro.
just like,
yeah.
so
We're like, bye.
bye.
Yeah, what? Okay. Little pearls, let us know if you've made it this far. Drop us a comment.
Yeah.
What should our outro be?
Yeah, like what should we say? We could say bye Gaga.
Bye, Gaga.
But we'll
For
workshop
now.
that.
Yeah,
We'll workshop
yeah,
that.
Okay.
Anyway, bye.
Okay. Bye, Gaga.
Let you in.